Welcome back to Batman, The Last Night on Earth, right here at Comicstorian, your home for audio dramas of your favorite comic books, video games, and movies. The Last Night is Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo's actual conclusion to their storyline if they were allowed to end the Batman storyline. And the first issue showed Batman seemingly dying and then waking up in the far-flung future where he discovered that he is a clone of his former self and that Alfred is an old man and just wanted to live out their days together, but he's Batman. He wouldn't allow that. He eventually found the Joker's head in a jar, and he began to journey across this destroyed dystopia, trying to find answers, trying to find a way to save the world. And that's the journey that we're continuing today with Last Night on Earth, issue number 2. If you enjoyed this, please consider subscribing to our channel, turning on that notification bell. But let's get on with the story. Joe Chill stirs the food he's cooking in a frying pan. He stops, reaching for one of the drawers beneath the stove. "The snub nose isn't there, Mr. Chill. I took it." A voice calls from the other room, and Joe turns, fear in his eyes. "And I took the shotgun from behind the stove and the .45 in the bedroom." Joe turns, a fork in his hands. "I was looking for cayenne pepper, you asshole!" He crosses the room, fork at the ready. "You know, you're not so stealthy anymore, are you, Ears?" he asks, reaching for the door, but Batman is settling in the room behind him. "Luckily, neither are you," he snarls, his hand snapping out, grabbing the hand with the fork and driving it to Joe's shoulder. They twirl, spinning across the room, knocking over the frying pan. Grease splatters, catching fire on the dingy apartment. But Joe pulls himself up, yanking the fork from his shoulder, and he continues to go about cooking his meal. Batman demands to know about the child that he found in the alleyway. "The boy has no records, no identification. The DNA says that it's your son. But you never had a son," Batman asks, standing behind the man as calmly as he cooks. The splatters of grease catching a flame and the walls begin to go up behind them. And he still just cooks. "He takes after me pretty good. Plugging Wayne's in Crime Alley. That's right, Bruce Wayne, I know everything," he smiles. Batman reaches out, knocking the plate of food aside, pulling Joe close. "Who was the boy in the alley?" he demands. "You mean you? Or this new one?" Joe asks. Joe smiles, telling Batman that he already knows. That he's always known. "Welcome to the last case that you'll ever solve, Detective. It's your house that's burning tonight, Ears. Not mine. To the ground!" Joe yells, the fire reflecting in his eyes. "Knock, knock!" a voice calls into the darkness. Batman opens his eyes to find the head of Joker staring at him from his jar. Now, back at our current day, at the end of everything. "Are you sure it's funnier that way? With the knocking first? Because I really don't think it is." Batman begins to shut his eyes, assuring the Joker that it's funnier with the knock-knock first. "Go back to sleep, Joker." "Can't, bud. You were yelling in your sleep. What were you dreaming about?" the Clown Prince asks. Batman sighs, getting up. His horse is nearby, and the small fire has continued to simmer into the night. "Actually, I don't care. Just need to ask you something important, like real important. Hear me out. We've been traveling for over a week. Comrades, partners. Am I, Rob?" But Batman interrupts him, telling Joker that they need to move on. He turns, seeing a strange whirling wind coming towards them. Batman grabs the jar and his horse, trying to get away from the impossibly fast-moving windstorm. "Can I be a Robin?" Joker calls over the gusting wind. But Batman grabs the reins, trying to drag the horse away. "I'd make this horse Robin before you," he snarls. The windstorm hits them, energy cracking as it blows over the horse. "Look out! It's a Speed Force storm, dummy! Age you up to dust or down to baby cells." Before their eyes, the horse ages and it disintegrates to bones and dust. "Look at that. Another perfectly good Robin dead." As Batman pulls himself above the storm, hiding in the shelter of a cave, he turns back, staring into the terrible wind, and he hears a voice. "Please, Bruce!" The wind howls, and before him, in the swirling cloud, it takes the images of his former friends. Faces of the members of the Speed Force begin to shift and stretch before him, melding into one horrible maw. Wally, Jay, Barry, Bart, they scream for Bruce. "Help us!" They cry, with Batman moving to the edge, but the storm has already passed. The swirling wind moving away as rapidly as it's arrived. They push south, and at one point they're flying overhead with a bat glider. They look down, passing over Fort Waller. Within the middle was a reactor, powered by Nuclear Man. Batman watched as the creatures came out of the forest to be met by soldiers wrapped in bandages. The battle itself was fast and bloody. "We have to help," Batman whispers, but Joker merely laughs, looking at him. "Which side?" he asks with a grin. As Batman flew overhead, they watched as the forest rose up and a monstrous swamp thing lashed out against the soldiers. And they, flew on. In the fabricated Gotham City, though, back at the beginning of this journey, an elderly Alfred moves through the abandoned streets. He stops, looking up at the blinking Wayne Tower, and he holds up a remote to shut it off. "Oh, don't shut it all off. It's so pretty," a raspy voice calls out from the alleyway. Alfred turns, recoiling as he sees the monstrous visage of Bane rising out of the fog and a horrific scarecrow crawling along his back before lowering himself to walk on the needles that line his fingers. "Hello, Alfred. You did a bad thing. Couldn't leave it alone, could you? Couldn't just keep your head down?" Alfred nods, knowing that they were sent by their master. "He goes by Omega. Come back to Gotham. Come home. I'll take you in, make you stronger." But Alfred reaches below his coat, pulling free a shotgun that he had concealed there. "I was hoping you'd come, because I did make a terrible mistake, not killing you all when I had the chance," he shouts, racking a round and firing. The boom of the weapon echoes throughout the deserted streets, and the rounds end up sending spurts of blood from Bane. The chamber's sound clicks empty with Alfred feeling the pinch of needles in his neck. "What have you done?" Alfred gasps. But from the fog, a new figure emerges, and in the shape of a Batman, a much, much darker Batman. "What I asked them to do, Alfred," Omega whispers. He steps forward, his hand reaching out to caress the old man's neck. "You did," he whispers. "You convinced them not to go to that showing of Zorro after all. You saved them. Now go to sleep, old friend." For a brief moment, Alfred can see it, his family, and he falls to the ground. Meanwhile, Batman and Joker kept moving, past the crocodile men of Fawcett City, past the imp death grounds that shrouded the cartoon mist, past the fallen machines of war and the ships of caged universe hearts, god engines, and zeta cannons. Rainan, Thanagarian, Temorarian, Apexalian, Akulin. The ships lay rotting, leaking stardust into the fields around them, and 2 weeks have passed since they've arrived in the Fields of Solitude. Batman pulls himself upward, climbing amongst the ancient Kryptonian crystals that are growing there. "How about now?" Joker asks. "No." "How about now?" "No." "How about now? Can I be Robin now?" he asks again, but Batman pulls himself up another cliff, staring into the crystalline wastelands before them. "No." "Okay. But what about?" the Joker begins, but Batman suddenly turns, taking the jar in both hands, squeezing it, screaming at the Joker. "There is no Robin, because Robin is just a good person trying to help. Who's left out there, Joker? Answer me. Who is still there?" "You're supposed to say knock knock first, aren't you?" Joker says with a smile on his face. But they're interrupted by the sound of a bomb flying out of the sky. Batman turns, diving out of the way as a red and blue rocket crashes next to him, and then he pulls himself up, staring at the ship in disbelief. "That rocket, it's Superman's," he whispers, but Batman looks up as more rockets begin to drop around him. The cliff racks and he's thrown away, crashing against more crystals, and he lays there in the snow, the Joker rolling a few feet away with the sound of crunching footsteps reaching his ears. His vision hazy as he sees a large man with an S shield on his chest stepping into view. "Clark, is that you?" Superman reaches down, picking him up out of the snow. "Sure. Shush. Shh. Rest, Bruce. It'll be all right. You made it," he tells him. Later, the two of them are walking through the crystals with Batman demanding to know what is happening, but Clark doesn't answer and just continues forward. "Why are you hiding in some cave where the world falls apart? Talk to me, damn it! What is this place?" Clark finally turns around, answering him. "Home. Take a look." They step from the caves to find a large field surrounding a simple farmhouse. Clark leads Batman to the Kent farm and inside, where Batman continues to question the unresponsive Superman. "What is wrong with you?" "Nothing is wrong with him, Batman," a voice calls from the top of the stairs. He's perfect. He's just not the Superman you're looking for. Lex tells him, his body frail, his eyes bugging out of his head, a slightly crazy smile playing across his lips as he walks down the steps. Luthor, you're alive? What is this place? Where is Superman? Batman snarls. Lex waves his arm, telling him, Superman he's all around us. Come, I'll show you. Within the barn, Batman stares at the gathering of Superman clones who stand silent and ready. But Lex continues to lead them forward, explaining that he plans on bringing Superman back. Lex, I need to know what you did so that I can fix this, Batman explains, but Lex smiles, sitting at his computer, explaining that he used technology to open up wormholes and used it to bring Superman back with his spaceship. Lex watches the screens as Batman leans in close behind him. Luthor, what did you do? So finally, Lex explains. You see, he sent Superman an invitation to debate before the world about good versus evil. Lex had sunk kryptonite shards beneath the earth, and he had used the combined powers of the Legion of Doom and Starro to make it so that after the debate, if the majority of Earth fought justice, the shards would kill Lex, and if they thought doom, then Superman would die. The world watched as these two great figures made their cases, and Lex knew that he had lost. He stood waiting for the moment when Superman would have to save him. And the ground began to shake, and Lex turned as a shard pierced through Superman's body, killing him. The body was suspended before him, with Kryptonian blood dripping onto the grass. In his control room, Lex turns, sorrow filling his eyes as he tries to explain it to Batman. It was a mistake. They turned on us too, the villains. We even made another you. Another me? A Batman to try and get control. But it didn't work. Nothing worked. The world just blew up. Lex sits back at his desk, his head in his hands as he cries. And suddenly the door creaks behind them, and that's when we see Clark standing there. Lex, he begins, and the former villain stands. What is it, my boy? What do you need? He asks. Clark suddenly rushes forward, grabbing the two of them and throwing them into the closest wall. He tosses them into the grass before a waiting Bane and Scarecrow. What did he do to you, Clark? Lex demands, his voice shrill, but Scarecrow ignores them, and the Clark clone lifts Batman over his head, ready to break him. But as he stops, a blade pierces his chest, with Diana slashing downwards, ripping through the chest of the Man of Steel, forcing him to drop Batman. You're welcome. I had it under control. Diana smiles at the man. Of course you did. It's good to see you again, Batman. Clark is there again, throwing Batman to the ground. He rears back for another punch before his arm is taken off by Diana's blade. She swings again, lopping the head off. One false Superman won't do it, Crane. She smiles. It's a good thing. I drugged them all. He laughs from Bane's back, and the barn doors swing open with an army of Supermen emerging, flying towards the group. Diana stands ready, but she knows that there are too many, so Batman grabs Luthor, ordering him to use his tech to open a portal away from here. They start to run, with Diana telling him to open a portal to the eastern edge of the plains. They'll only follow us, Batman tells her, but Luthor tells them to go. He'll direct the Supermen towards himself. Lex Luthor, I will never forgive you for what you did, Diana tells him quickly, but I will remember this act, and I will speak of it. Lex nods at these words. To him, please, if you ever can. The Supermen converge on Luthor as the light flashes, and Batman and Diana disappear. Within a moment, the two are standing on the strange green ground. A haunted place, Diana tells him, looking down at the vast green cloak that lays at their feet. The Spectre? Batman asks, and then Diana explains that the spirit of vengeance fell when the fighting consumed heaven and hell. His cloak now serves as a portal. To where? To the place where everyone resides. Darkness is all around them as they move through the portal, and the Joker begins to argue, telling the others that he hears voices. And in the dark, Diana explains that they're floating down the river of the dead. The Joker hears the voices of all of those deaths that you feel responsible for. How can you see? Batman asks her. The lasso allows me, she tells him. Batman asks her to allow him to see as well, and he feels the coil around his wrist and the darkness recedes. The boat floats through the murky waters, drifting in a fog. He looks around them. The voices are starting. I can hear them. Who do you hear? He asks Diana. My sisters. Too many people. You? Batman turns to the shore and he sees, well, everyone. The collection of heroes that he let down stand on the banks looking at him. Their eyes are sightless, yet shift as the boat drifts past. But a voice calls out louder than the others, and the heroes part to show Alfred standing amongst them. No, Alfred, you're alive! I just left you! Diana reaches for her friend, telling him that she'll remove the lasso. No, I'm fine. What if this was all a mistake, Diana? He asks. What if the world won't go back? What if this is our Eden? Diana nods, telling him that she believes that this is true. But I've also been around long enough for the world to step forward and backwards. Nothing is final. We must be who we are regardless of whether we win them over or lose them, she tells them. Eventually, they make their way out of the underworld until they finally make their way to Gotham City. Batman stares shocked at what his city has become. Flashing overhead is the Omega symbol, and Diana explains that it holds everyone under its sway with the anti-life equation. Guards on the wall turn and watch them as the two heroes walk through the streets. I doubt there is anyone left here to help us, Diana explains. So what's the plan? Take back the damn city, Batman explains simply. But suddenly the two pause as voices echo in the darkness. Who? They call, and Diana readies herself. Who's there? She demands, and the voices echo her. Who are we, traitor? We are the Court of Owls. The voice hisses at them as the talons suddenly appear out of the mist, weapons drawn. And you have been sentenced to death. Bruce and Diana stand ready to fight. That voice. Listen to me. It's Bruce. Is that you under there? He asks, and the leader of the talons pushes forward, stepping through his men. He reaches for his mask, pulling it free to reveal a former friend. My God, Omega is Dick Grayson? And there you have it. One more issue of this is going to be happening, and that issue will be read to you this week right here at the Comicstorian channel. So if you want to know how this story concludes, consider subscribing to the channel, turning on that notification bell, checking out our schedule in the upper area around the banner, and I hope that you can enjoy. Either way, thank you for your support. Thank you for watching this video, and if you want to know what happened last time, if you somehow missed it and watched this video, I'll put the link to that down below. And don't forget, you can get early access to all of our content by going on over to our Patreon and signing up for that. Thank you. I'll see you next time right here.